All I ever wanted was to travel the world, exotic places, meet new and exciting people, and then kill them. So I became a mercenary. I love what I do. I'm Wade Wilson. They call me the Merc With A Mouth. Greetings, munchkins. Did you like that dose of green band goodness? Hankering for a little more action? Some big boy curse words, maybe? Check out DeadpoolWebsite.com for my red band trailer. Make sure to ask your mommy and tell her to call me. She's got the number.
The following program has adult language and potentially tons and tons of spoilers. Listener beware.
Fantastic Four. Spider-Man. Iron Man. Spider-Woman.
Welcome to the Marvel Superheroes Podcast. I'm Diabolu Frank, and with me are
Joe Fixit.
I'm Lee Machine.
In a world divided by fear, one man must stand alone against the forces of darkness. From the studio that inexplicably sewed his fucking mouth shut the first time, comes 5-time Academy Award viewer Ryan Reynolds as a man on an eHarmony date with destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you me, Deadpool. So, get ready to blow out your collective sphincters, because my trailer is coming.
I got chills seeing the Civil War trailer again on the screen.
We didn't have the Civil War trailer.
Which trailers do you guys have?
Well, I don't know. We weren't with you when we watched.
We had Suicide Squad.
Oh, I didn't get Suicide Squad. That sucks. The Bohemian Rhapsody one.
Yeah, but I think it had
I
think it had more footage in it.
We got X-Men, and I like that too. I really like the musical cues in the trailer. I like that synth music toward the end, especially. I love the 80s vibe it's starting to get.
Shit, dude.
Huh?
That movie is. I'm telling you, it's
Really?
gonna be
No.
so bad.
No, we did our usual.
It looks awful.
We'll watch. We're not gonna watch. So, what? The Gods of Egypt came on, and we both like. I was like, straight to video.
That looks like a video game. It looks like a cutscene.
What was the other DC one we saw? No, it was.
I was hoping they'd do Batman vs Superman because
No,
after chills I was feeling on Civil War, it's like bring it on.
No,
Let me see that.
when Suicide Squad came on, I told him every time Harley Quinn spoke, I'm like, I'm out of the movie. I'm back in the movie. I'm out of the movie. I'm back in the movie. And he made a very good point. When she breaks the window, she goes, "We're bad guys. That's what we do." What'd you say?
I was like, I'm afraid that every line she delivers in the entire 2-hour and 15-minute long movie is going to be.
It seems that way.
With that snark with her little head tilt.
Like
she can.
the voices in my head.
The voices told me.
I love that. I thought that was great.
The voice,
I really enjoyed
but
that.
if every line she has in the movie is spoken like this, tilting my head back and forth and making a smarmy comment, then I'm going to want to blow my brains
She
out.
just turned into that creepy chick that calls every man over 30 daddy. She's just fucking creepy. Like, she's no longer a psycho killer in my eyes. She's like that creepy.
I don't want to talk about Harley Quinn anymore. But anyway, I think that movie actually looks okay. I know you're.
Which one?
You're
Which
out
one?
on it, but I
There was
think-
another movie that came out. Oh, Independence Day.
Oh yeah, I think.
we
Independence Day
didn't
looks
get that one at all.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that trailer. In fact, I never
The
bothered.
trailer we saw, I had never seen before.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I was impressed.
I like the way that they're taking. It's literally a sequel. Like it's in the 20 years since, or however fucking long it's been.
No, he said 20 years. Yeah.
Real time sequel, yeah.
Right. Since the aliens, since we defeated the aliens, we've taken their technology and tried to fortify the planet. Like Earth has moved on, but it's diverted into its own reality as opposed to them just attacking Earth again. And we're all like,
And the same weapons, yeah.
Right. Even though obviously the plot's going to be exactly the same, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be exactly the same. But I do like it's cool.
Super virus.
That universe has now progressed and they use the alien technology from back then. And then Will Smith's all pissed off because they didn't even call him apparently about this movie.
Well, yeah, he was going to be busy. He was doing Suicide Squad, so he
yeah.
couldn't.
No, but I think they just they're gonna kill his character off.
No, they
Sort
did.
of.
Yeah, they did. Literally, I think they're supposed to be a scene where the kid who was his son in the original was like, "Well, my dad dad was a pilot and he died one night in a mystical fire or some shit like that. That's how they're going to explain them pretty much.
I'm trying to remember which all ones that we saw. We had a few bad ones, I know, but the main ones, Civil War and X-Men, were close together. So it's like, is every fucking trailer this damn thing going to have that Marvel flippity-flip comic book things? But I know, I think, I really want to see X-Men Apocalypse. I realize that I'm
awful.
having some issues with Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse, his presentation at the end where you've got the synth music and then they cut away and then you see Xavier with the bald head.
Yeah.
And the close-up.
That was the scene. He looked at it and goes, it looks like garbage.
Nah, I want to see it. It looks like fun.
I want to see it. I guess I won't be watching it with you.
No,
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of those movies, and I don't feel like I
You didn't
missed.
see Days of Future Past yet either.
But there was
Didn't see First Class. Didn't see. I
didn't really like First Class,
I literally
though.
have no interest in any of those films. After
Well, honestly, I'm going to
What was
try
the
to
third
make
one? What was the third
maybe,
one called?
Maybe we won't do it with you, but I really want to do First Class, Days of Future Past, and then go see Apocalypse.
I'll do it.
what was the third one
I own
called?
them.
Huh?
What was the third one called?
This is the third one.
No, the third X-Men movie.
Apocalypse.
X-Men.
No,
X-Men
fucking
3.
assholes. X1, X2, and then what was the third one?
X-Men 3. The final
they fucking
stand.
do we
stand
The Last
or-
Stand.
Last Stand. After that one, I was like, I'm done with these movies. I don't want to see these characters anymore. I don't care for the direction. I don't like the style. I just don't like the feel of that whole universe. I'm just not down
X-Men
with it.
is distinctly different from the other franchises.
The
That's one thing that's
fonts
kind
are all
of...
different. Even like the fonts are all the same. There's just something about all those films. They're obviously all their own thing,
Yeah.
and I don't like anything to do with them.
I think too that since they've had the same director for the majority of those movies, they've stylistically they've stayed much more similar than all the Marvel stuff's all over the place, the DC stuff's all over the place.
Cerebro, the room's always the
Yeah.
same. You're always in that weird tunnel with the light. Like in every single fucking movie, they're all in that weird sort of tunneled.
But I kind of like it that they that's their thing though. I like that
it's-
distinctiveness that
right.
they get from that.
I don't like that.
Right.
Okay.
You feel like claustrophobic stylistically.
Counterpoint, no.
Hi, I'm Deadpool, the other jolly guy in a red suit with a lap worth sitting on, here to tell you happy holidays. In the spirit of this most festive time of year, I've decided to release my holiday cheer all over the world. How, you ask? Well, you naughty stocking stuffers, brace yourselves, because starting today, you're getting not 1, not 2, but 12 glorious days of Deadpool.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and a good guy in red was hunting down bad guys and making them dead.
Let's recap.
They messed with his face, and kidnapped his girl. He's not used to being a hero, but he'll give it a whirl.
Nobody's getting hurt.
Deadpool.
Merry Christmas.
This one's not yet rated. New trailer online tomorrow.
So sit back, hold on to your ornaments, guzzle a little eggnog, at least that looks like eggnog, and prepare yourself because it's time for St. Wade to put the win in Winter Wonderland.
Deadpool, in theaters February 12th.
What's this? Is that glue?
Hey, can we please podcast, please? I'm already forgetting this movie. Please.
Hey, yeah, I wanna shoot,
Kind of lonesome back here.
Little help here. Oh. Excuse me.
Dopinder.
Pool. Dead.
Why the fancy red suit, Mr. Poole?
Oh, that's because it's Christmas Day, Dopinder, and I'm after someone on my naughty list. You're probably thinking, this was a superhero movie, but that guy in the suit just turned that other guy into a fucking kebab. Surprise! This is a different kind of superhero story. To tell it right, we gotta take you back before I squeeze this ass into spandex.
Mr. Wilson, you've recently been diagnosed with terminal cancer.
We can fight this.
What if I told you we can cure you and give you abilities most men only dream of?
I'd say that you sound like an infomercial, but not a good one, like Slap Chop, more shake weighty.
If I never see you again, know that I love you.
When I'm finished, your mutated cells will heal anything.
But
You still think we're making you a superhero? We're making you a super slave.
Oh, come on. You gonna leave me all alone here with Jose Canseco? Whatever they did to me made me totally indestructible and completely unfuckable.
You look like the inside of other people's assholes.
I didn't ask to be super, and I'm no hero. But when you find out your worst enemy is after your best girl, the time has come to be a fucking superhero.
Cue the music. Let's go.
it to you. Fuck, wait for you to get it on your own. X gon' deliver to you.
We can't allow this, Deadpool.
I don't have time for your X-Men bullshit, Colossus.
Besides, nobody's getting hurt.
That guy was up there before we got here.
Knock, knock, open
I
up.
played a lot of roles. Damsel in distress ain't one of them.
You gonna rock.
Time to make the chimmy fucking chongas.
Rock, roll, let it go.
Have you seen this man?
I never say this, but don't swallow. Shit. Did I leave the stove on?
X gon' give it to you.
Yeah, you're way too much dude for me. That's why I brought him.
I mean, that's why I brought her?
Oh, no, finish your tweet.
That's fine. Just give us a second.
Go get her, Tiger.
Oh, I so pity the dude who pressures her into prom sex.
X gon' give it to you.
Okay, Deadpool. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm just gonna watch.
It's a movie?
Deadpool's gonna make a shit ton of money.
They cursed a lot. There was a lot of kids in our showing, too.
There were a lot of kids. There are going to be a lot of kids that come to the showing and then they have to get up and leave with their parents.
Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of kids in our
So
showing.
anyway, I don't want to get to my problems with the first. I'm going to say from start to I thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
I liked it.
I went in knowing that it was just going to be a freaking horror show of death and cursing, and I laughed throughout. Sometimes you were laughing so much that there were so many rapid fire jokes that you were I definitely laughed over several jokes that I just missed. Because he would go back to back joke,
yeah.
But he's still telling a joke while everybody's laughing from the first part of the joke, and you didn't even hear what he said. You hear nothing of it. So other than stuff like that was annoying, I thought that obviously most of the movie is just cutscene from a video game, but I thought with their budget, it was pretty good. I thought it looked pretty good. I don't know.
What was the budget? Do you know?
Not very much.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I read something where they had said that in the last 48 hours when they were supposed to submit the script, that Fox came back to them and told them they had to reduce their budget by $7 million, and they had to go through the entire script from front to back and cut out what they thought would be the equivalent of $7 million. And I think that the movie, it's got no fat on it. Here's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of Dread.
The second one.
Right.
Okay, I was going to say.
Where it just kind of takes place in one little building. You know, there is no... You don't
have to have more special effects, city backgrounds and stuff.
Well, not even just that, but the movie, it's a contained movie, and it's contained in a tiny little space. Like, I feel like all of Deadpool basically happened within 3 or 4 blocks of that freeway scene, right? Like, the whole movie took place right there. Like, that harbor or whatever is probably just right off the freeway. And it was all the same characters. You didn't introduce the 15... 20, 30 different characters. They were bringing in all these supervillains, and they were all these different levels. You know what I mean? It was just very lean, straight to the point. Not a lot of subplots, no twists and turns, no twists. It was just very, this is what is going to happen. We're going to tell the origin while we do this. And then the movie, it went through it, and it did what it was supposed to do, and then it was over.
Can we give an overview of the movie right quick? It's pretty straightforward, so.
When is this going to come out? Because it's only been out for a few days.
We're going to be doing spoilers anyway, because we're already talking about the fucking movies. So.
Okay, so hey, spoilers, guys.
If people have ever listened to this show, they should know by now. We have no
So this is the story of Wade Wilson,
who I always assumed looked like Rob Liefeld. Or am I wrong?
I don't know. What?
Well, he's got the screwed up features from the cancers. So
I know that.
His face, sometimes it looks all...
But did they do an episode one time, or an issue where he was cured or something, and supposedly looked like
Tom Cruise.
Oh,
no, Loki once cursed him to look like Tom Cruise during the Christopher Priest run. Under normal circumstances, he just looks like a guy with blondish hair. A lot of times he has a mustache, not distinctly looking like anybody.
I always thought he was a ginger for some reason. Okay.
He is kind of I think he's kind of like a strawberry blonde, if I remember correctly.
But anyway,
that was years later, though.
Oh, yeah, what the fuck are you guys talking about? So basically the story is, it's a simultaneous telling of his origin and how he meant to be and how he's taking revenge on those that created him to begin with. So basically he finds out he has cancer, right? And then he's kind of given a black card by a guy who's like, hey, we have this special program.
Jared.
We can cure your... we can cure your thing with your thing, right? And he's like, okay, cool. So then he goes into the fucking thing, and they're like, basically what we do is we inject you full of these drugs, and we force your body. It kind of amplifies if you have any sort of latent mutant genes, and then we basically just torture you nonstop until your body becomes a full mutant.
Well,
we force
that's what
your
they
body
did. They didn't tell him they were going to torture him nonstop until it worked. But.
Well, you know what I mean. So then they do it. They torture him and torture him and torture him in all these horrible, horrible ways, until finally his body mutates, and he becomes Deadpool.
And by becoming Deadpool, he's hideous. He
Right.
looks like Freddy Krueger all over.
And the twist is that when I guess I just said there wasn't a twist, and I'm just saying the twist. Okay, so throughout the torture, he then becomes disfigured in the last round that caused him to evolve, and the guy who was the mad scientist dude who was torturing him basically said, hey, I can fix your face because your face is all fucked up, but I'm not going to, bye. And he leaves or whatever. And so the movie is him tracking him down to first get him to cure him of his fugliness, and then B, to kill him. And he wants to be cured of his fugliness so he can get back with his homegirl.
But in the meantime, he's too fugly to get with his girl.
Yeah, but he's too fugly to get with his home gal, or at least in his brain, he thinks that he is. He's ashamed and curses a lot and cuts a lot of people up. And special guest star Colossus and what's her name?
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yeah. Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Right. Pretty good? No?
Yeah, I think it was good.
Like I said, the movie's not a lot to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. I thought it was really, really funny. Took shots at everybody and did that whole fourth wall thing, which was...
Yeah, he breaks the fourth wall a lot.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. It kind of, I don't know, messed with me sometimes because it kind of you feel like you're watching a movie and all of a sudden he acknowledges the audience and it's kind of like, oh, okay, and then goes back to doing the movie. So yeah,
so did it take you out of the movie or were you?
No, it didn't take me out of it. It just kind of jolted me a little bit. It kept me entertained. Like the movie is very entertaining.
I liked whenever he would break the fourth wall and then one of the characters around him would be like, "You talking to me?" He's like, "No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to them."
Yeah,
and he's pointing to the screen. I thought that was a nice twist. Anybody can just turn to a screen and talk to the screen. That's happened in other movies, but when other characters in the scene are like, "Are you talking to me?" Like, who the fuck are you talking to?
I really liked their interpretation of Colossus, though.
See, I wasn't sure. I know you like the character
I like
Colossus, but they kind of they made him a bit of a buffoon.
Yeah, but that's just the way he is. He's not. I mean, he's Pietro. He's an artist. He's a father figure.
Pietro. He's Peter.
Pietro's Quicksilver.
That's right. Petro's. Yeah. I thought it was Petro.
Peter.
No, it's Peter.
Or
Peter.
Yeah.
Rasmussen or.
So they spell it funky. Yeah, I think they got an I in there, but he's still Peter.
Oh, okay. Well, Peter, who banged a young Shadowcat, I believe, at one time.
And then they got that young-looking chick hanging out with him the whole time.
Yeah, I know. That's what
you making that connection. Just for the record, she is 19, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. She just doesn't look 19, so it's still wrong.
I love that Sigourney Weaver aliens joke. Like that was, like he's right. Mac was right, man. Just like machine gunning jokes, dude, left and right. And if you love sarcasm, the movie's for you. Like it's just nothing but sarcasm through the entire fucking movie. It did feel really fast though. The movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like it rushed or anything.
No, not rushed. I don't feel like it rushed.
I think a lot of it was because the structure is such where it starts out with a Deadpool action sequence, and he flashes back to part of his origin. Then he comes back to the present action, does another flashback or two, and then you start working toward the resolution of the movie. So I think that there's that perception because of all the flashbacks that it's going through quickly because you've only got really two primary set pieces.
Yeah.
But really, I didn't feel like it was overly long or overly short to me.
No, well, the funny thing is because the movie's supposed to take over 2 years too, because she says, "I haven't seen you in 2 years."
That's true, but that's where all the flashbacks are.
I wouldn't say that I'm a comic book aficionado, but definitely this character I've always really responded to. I really like the art in the Deadpool comics, and I've loved some of the different storylines that they've covered. Great. Stuck in an elevator with 5 guys on a high-protein diet.
Oh, wait.
Dreams really do come true.
So just shut it. You're up next.
Thank you, sir. You look really nice today. It's the green. Brings out the seriousness in your eyes.
Oh my God, you ever shut up, pal?
No, not when I'm awake. And I was mentioned in a Deadpool comic once, which I thought was really cool. They asked him if what he looks like under the mask, and he said he looks like a cross between a Sharpay and Ryan Reynolds. And I just thought, I'd like to play that guy someday. Time to go to work.
Okay. People are dead.
If you didn't have that mouth on you, Wade, you'd be the perfect soldier.
Hey, Illegal Machine, how did you first get introduced to Deadpool?
Probably on like a trading card.
Which one?
I don't know. Wasn't he part of one of those sets of trading cards?
He was in a bunch of them, but that's what I'm saying. No, he was in Overpower, but he'd been a fan by then.
Way before that. He was in one of those card sets because I didn't read any of those X books.
Your brother read the X books. You were the Avengers guy. I remember when you guys were first coming in to my shop, and you were the Avengers guy. You tended to like the more straight-laced Marvel heroes, and your brother was the X-Men guy, and he liked all the rebellious guys. His favorite quote-unquote hero was Sabretooth.
Yeah.
So I still think he may quietly be a serial killer. We just haven't found out out about it yet.
Or maybe not so quietly. Go ahead.
I wasn't really a mainstream Marvel guy either. So I think my tastes and your brothers were a little bit closer at that point in time. And I had been an X-Men fan at one point in time and gotten over it. So I would introduce him to stuff like Grimjack, and he was reading Mutant X at the time. And I remember he followed the Joe Kelly run on Deadpool. So he was into, at least one of us was into Deadpool like going in. But what about you, Mr. Fixit?
I knew of the character, but I didn't know anything about it.
Were you already out of the X-Books by the time Deadpool was coming in?
That I got out of the X-Books like in the 90s.
Okay.
Well, he came in the X-Books in the 90s. Right?
Well, you specifically would have to have been, he was more X-Force specifically, though. So if you weren't reading X-Force...
I was reading maybe Claremont's run with Silvestri. My involvement with the X-Men was kind of the tail end of their world. When Jim Lee, when they reintroduced X-Men 1, you know, the most sold comic book of all time, lost my interest in the X-Men at that point. You know,
well, there's a pretty big jump there because you're talking about.
Well, I always liked the Hulk more. I liked the mutants, but I was a big Hulk fan. And then you introduced me to stuff like Garth Ennis's Demon, and then I kind of got into. I started reading. That's when I started getting more into DC. I was reading.
Well, you already liked a lot of the more independent stuff and the more the darker stuff.
I remember you sold me the first issue.
Really?
Of
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because you were like, "You'll like this," and I was like, "Oh, we weren't friends yet." But
yeah.
I was like, all right. But I checked it out, and I remember I fell in love with it. And then you were like, if you like Garth Ennis, you should read his Hellblazer. And then you gave me a Hellblazer trade. That put me in an adult way away from covers because I was kind of getting burned out on all the X-Men. Too kiddie for me. And then you kind of put like this whole new spin on me. So I remember reading all that stuff. I always knew he had a lot of pockets.
Deadpool.
Yeah, he had a lot of pockets, and he was kind of a Spider-Man ripoff, I was told, and that was about it. And then,
so have you ever read any Deadpool comics?
I've read stories where he's involved, and I think I've read a couple where he had like the multiple personality thing, and I thought that was kind of a little twist on it, but I don't think I've ever read like a series, maybe like an individual book.
Well, no, you read him wasn't he in one of the X-Force volumes you read?
You're right. Well, yeah, that's right. You're right. With Rick Remender. Yeah, you're right. No, that's right. I forgot he was in that book. That book to me,
that's not exactly a selling point.
Well, no,
then
he was good at it, but I remember to me the Angel was the main character because he was so dark.
Well, they were doing a lot of stuff with Apocalypse and the connection between Archangel and Apocalypse, right?
Well, the cool thing about that series was it's an X-Men hit team that takes out the villains because they're tired of trying to track them and trap them. So instead, it's just let's take them out.
Well, that was kind of the concept of X-Force. They just never quite executed the concept. It was probably, I think it was better done in Remender. So I was an X-Men fan throughout the 80s, big X-Men fan. And like you, I started to lose interest during the Silvestri run, but I came back in a pretty big way with Jim Lee and the rise of the guys who became image artists. I loved the image artists because I got into Will Portacio on Punisher. I got into Jim Lee on Punisher Warzone. I was noticing these new guys like Todd McFarlane, who I didn't gravitate toward necessarily, but it was definitely, comic books had never looked like that before. So it's hard to not catch your eye, even whether you liked it or not. I appreciated just how much detail Todd McFarlane pumped into stuff, but by the time he was coming around, I was really over Spider-Man. But I remember seeing like Rob Liefeld's covers to those early New Mutants issues, or when I got lucky enough to catch them at a comic shop because they weren't getting newsstand distribution anymore, to my recollection. I think after Inferno, I just stopped seeing New Mutant stuff on the newsstand. And I think at that point in time, that was the main place I was getting my comics. I didn't have any comic shops around. But my brother, he picked up New Mutants number 98, and I read it, and it was like the most exciting thing at that point in time. It was so fantastic to the both of us. We read it, and, all of a sudden the New Mutants were really flashy looking, and you had Domino, who's this cool albino chick, and Cable, who I hadn't really had much experience with. I think I'd read like an X-Men annual with him in it, and he was just a minor presence there. But here, he's this gun-toting Terminator-style badass with lots of pockets. I think that Terminator 2 had come out by that point, so he kind of resembled Schwarzenegger once he'd made the heroic turn. And then Deadpool was just awesome looking, because I wasn't a Titans guy, I don't think, at that point in time. I mean, I'd read Titans stuff, but I hadn't had a lot of exposure to Deathstroke. But the whole thing that made Deathstroke a fan favorite was he shows up and he's a one-man, like Captain America, he takes out the whole Titans team on his own. It takes all the Titans to fight this one guy who's a super acrobat, he's got a badass sword, he shoots guns, he's got body armor, and he's just like one of the best fighters ever. So Deadpool was basically doing the same thing that Deathstroke had done, but to the New Mutants instead of the Titans. He was a mercenary, and he's hired to come in and kill the lot of them, but especially, I think he was specifically supposed to kill Cable, and his son Tolliver had hired Deadpool to kill Cable. That's right, that's what it was. And he just looked cool. There was also this new villain, Gideon, who was this dude with this long, flowing green hair and these metal straps on his arms, and he looked like something out of Robotech. And part of what was so cool about the image artists is, as a child of the 80s, they were taking all the stuff that we'd all watched as a generation, and they were putting it back in the comic books, the mainstream American comics.
Was he a Merc Mouth?
Gideon? Oh, Merc with a Mouth. That came later on, though.
Did it? Okay.
But he was...
Was he sarcastic?
Yeah, he was definitely, because
he was definitely Spider-Man.
Well, I read a little bit about it recently. What had happened was he was created by Liefeld, And Liefeld just wanted to draw a Spider-Man type character. Liefeld has always rejected that Deadpool was ever in any way influenced by Deathstroke, even though he functioned the same
He will not
fashion.
admit it. He won't admit it.
Well, I'm not sure that he was intentional. What had happened is Fabian Nicieza, you had 3 new characters coming to New Mutants all at once. They're on the cover of New Mutants 98, and Gideon was this serious character who had plotted the assassination of Roberto da Costa's dad, who was this billionaire Brazilian industrialist. And so Gideon had facilitated his execution, and then he took Sunspot to go deal with his father's death, and he was acting as a mentor without, of course, letting Sunspot know that he'd actually killed his dad. And so he's this Machiavellian schemer, and then Domino is the serious former ally of Cable's who's coming back into the fold. So Nicieza realized, because he's the one who's having to script all these new characters, these new characters are so serious, and you look at Deadpool, and he's kind of a Spider-Man type character, he wanted to give him a different voice. He wanted to have him more funny and more bouncy. So that's where the Merc with a Mouth thing got started. He just needed him to sound different than all these other new characters. Right after Deadpool was coming out, like probably sometime between New Mutants 98 and X-Force, my brother and I, we went to see the movie Mobsters. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Is that the one with Christian Slater?
Yeah. They used to call it Young Tommy Guns because they basically took the Young Guns formula and then found some guys a little further outside of the Brat Pack and cast them all as mobsters. There was a guy in that movie, the character's name was Mad Dog. He was an assassin, and he was like the loose cannon, the rogue guy. And me and my brother both came out of that movie going, that's Deadpool. That's the perfect Deadpool. So me and my brother have been fan casting Deadpool since like 1992 for a movie.
Stop it! Heaters on the floor, now!
This is pretty.
Kill him! Yeah.
How much is it worth?
Anything. 100 grand.
You don't like yourself much, do you?
200!
Come on, say it.
5! All right, 5.
Truth is, I like my work. I would have done it for nothing. Okay, boys.
You know, Deadpool wasn't supposed to be a thing. He was just supposed to be in that one issue for the most part, and maybe turn up down the line. But what Liefeld said was that they delivered this great big box to Liefeld's house, and he thought that Marvel had bought him like a washer or a dryer or something, and he goes to open the box and it's nothing but fan mail for the New Mutants, New Direction, and Deadpool. And Marvel asked him specifically, can you fast track doing stuff with Deadpool, because we've gotten more mail on this character than anybody in years, any new characters that's been introduced in years. So that's why Deadpool turned up in issue number 2 fighting Kane in a story that didn't have anything to do with anything, just so they could have an opportunity to showcase Deadpool again and give him a trading card, and he was just a hot character. So like I said, when Deadpool first came out, I loved Rob Liefeld at that time. I was just a big fan. I still find his artwork very energetic. You know, you look at it, and whatever issues you might have with the technical construction, you know that this guy's at least energized. He's obviously excited about what he's doing on the page because his lines are so frenetic and he's just so jazzed about what he's doing. And that was contagious at that time. It wasn't until Youngblood that I started kind of going, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to support this guy after all. And of course, I dropped out of the X books after, I think I made it 2 years into X-Force, back when Greg Capullo was doing it. Capullo, I actually really liked his take on Deadpool. He made him bulkier, and that seemed to be sort of the model for the other artists that did the character afterward. But by the time they got to the ongoing series, it had been so many years, and I'd gotten so dispirited by the X titles and by all the stuff that Marvel had done that I just had no interest in carrying on with the character.
People hear you talking like that, get everybody fired up. It's my shit. It's my shit. When I say I ate some bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S.
Oh, hello there. I bet you're wondering why the red suit. Well, that's so bad guys can't see me bleed. Hey! Let's hope these guys are wearing their brown pants.
Hola! Me llamo Vecina de la Muerta.
There's no easy way to say this. I'm pregnant, Trevor.
Rich Corinthian leather.
Excuse, por favor.
Ow, ow, ow. Damn! I wish I was out.
time's the disease. Meet the cure. Okay, not the cure, but more like a topical ointment that reduces swelling and itch. Hi, Tom. Oh, fuck me.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I think they do a good job of, like, but they introduce you to, what's his name, his home dude in the bar.
Weasel.
And they do a good job of kind of, you
the buddy
get invested in him a little bit, and they do a good job of getting you invested in the girlfriend.
I do have to say they oversold how those snaps were going to work, because I thought he was going to go on and on with that for a long time, and I thought he was going to get really offensive with it because of some of the things
I heard they are.
Well, I know
the extras are supposed to be like insane because supposedly there was some where they're like, oh yeah, we can't put that on
That's
screen.
what I had heard, that all the really, really bad stuff they couldn't use.
Yeah, because they said it was just
any R-rated movie. So it's like,
well, Mac at one point was like, I don't know how this is not an X-rated movie.
I don't know how this is an R-rated movie.
Oh yeah,
because usually if you go, I guess we can jump to that. One, I feel like they didn't warn parents enough about this film, and a lot of people are still going to think it's just an R-rated superhero movie and take your kids to an R-rated superhero movie.
R-rated superhero movie of all time.
This movie is like solidly R. Like this isn't.
It's a hard red R.
This isn't. They got
real hard R.
This wasn't. They wanted 4 or 5 more F-bombs and they had to give them an R rating. This movie is fucking like I in that first whole opening sequence where he's lopping dudes' heads off and that dude just like pulped by
on the sign
on the freeway and like
I heard you like
it was like holy fuck. And then the cursing, but then like I was telling you that like usually if you've got a whole lot of violence and cursing, that gives you the R, or you've got nudity and that gives you the R. Normally they don't do all of it, and this movie not only had heavy violence and gore and cursing, but then they had sex scenes and just plenty of nudity. I mean, straight up just walking around a strip club, and it wasn't where you just have like the girl's hips and midriffs walking in front of the camera. Like there's just tits everywhere, everywhere. Like
I thought they went full frontal, didn't they?
They
got real damn close.
Maybe close. All I know is that calendar girl scene had me laughing. Like I feel bad because I think I missed a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
So I was laughing.
It was hard to keep up because they were going through so many things so quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really happy. I've been ever since Firefly. I've been wanting to see Morena Baccarin naked,
smoking hot.
But the problem is she has been naked, but she's been naked in depressing
Who's
stuff.
That?
She's Inori from Firefly, and she played
the chick from V.
Who the fuck is she in this movie?
She's Vanessa,
the girlfriend.
Okay, that's what I was asking. I'm fucking Firefly is the Firefly podcast.
But she was so hot on Firefly, and then when she did finally get naked, it was in really depressing, like non-fun, sexy stuff. Yeah, like Homeland and stuff, where she's like having conversations.
She's a Holocaust survivor, and you're like, just trying to stroke.
I can't fap to this.
So it was nice
like
that
90 pounds.
She is. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything before. She's extremely attractive.
Yeah. And so it was nice to finally get to see fun nudity from her. And I had no expectation of any nudity. Honestly, I really did not expect any titties. And this one, I'm pretty sure there's feral friendly in there. I think it was shaved so you couldn't tell, but I think they went all over.
Well,
I think it was compensatory nudity because it's think that they got cold feet on the R-rated superhero movie. They cut the budget, so it's like, guess what? Titties don't cost that much money. We can get as many titties as we want to. We can curse as much as we want to. It doesn't cost us any extra money. They've already taken the money from us, so let's just fucking go for it. And I think it worked for the movie.
But anyway, but that's where I was kind of torn with this movie. Was I really liked it, but I think that it might have been too much.
I kind of have to agree with Mac. I think parents are going to walk in and think, oh, they're going to curse a lot. And then you get in there, the violence is pretty heavy. The cursing is all over the place. I mean, the crown of dicks. We were both laughing at that.
The crowd, yeah.
I mean,
I'm just saying maybe they shouldn't have put the Marvel flip book at the beginning of this one. You know what I mean? Because you're putting it in the Marvel family of movies.
Wait.
And I don't think
that might be part of the fucking point, though. Maybe Fox is so pissed off at Marvel for their shenanigans that they decided to, okay, well, we're going to fuck with Brandon.
I told this to Mac too. That by far was Stanley's greatest cameo.
That was awesome. I did not see that.
People clapped and
the whole place was like
clapping. That was
erupted in applause.
I guarantee you, Stanley has never enjoyed one of his cameos as much as he enjoyed working this.
I love that. Yeah. You can't buy love, but you can rent it.
You can rent it for 3 minutes.
Dude, we were dying laughing when I heard it. Dude, here's Stanley say that. I want that as my ringtone now.
But I could hear kids talking in the theater. It was just,
that was creepy.
This is weird, like like,
we heard a baby at one point, like, goo goo gaga, and I was thinking, oh my god, someone actually brought a toddler here.
Yeah.
It was just, yeah.
It wasn't even like with Blade. You know, when Blade, that opening scene.
Blade didn't have any nudity, though, did it?
No, but that opening scene of Blade, where he walks into the rave and pulls out a sword and then just starts cutting everyone up, and everybody was like, I just remember the theater when that started, everyone's like, holy shit. They were turning into dust, but he was still he hacked up an entire room of people in the first, 5 minutes of a comic book movie, and everybody was like, what the fuck? I had that a little bit in this, where I was just like, what the fuck are they doing?
The truck, when the car's flipping, and he hits the guy with the lighter on the forehead, throws it in his mouth, and says, I usually don't say this, but don't swallow.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When was the last time you were in a movie where you're like, what the fuck are they doing?
When I heard
how did this get greenlit by anybody?
I heard that, I was like, okay, they're really I kept, when you hear those people say, well, we're going to take this movie, we want to push the boundaries of this genre. We're going to take it a little further. Man, these fuckers kicked the door and just ran down the street with it, because there's no way you'll ever see another superhero, an X-Men or Avenger movie or Nightcrawler movie, anything close to this. They went, I mean, the next one has to be X-rated. If they do a sequel, it's just going to be
I don't think it has to be X-rated. I honestly think that one of the things that probably helped this movie, I think that, like I said, I think they took money from them because they didn't get to note them to death. And now this movie's made money, I bet they're going to note the shit out of the next movie and basically neuter it because they got away with so much in this one. So
yeah, I mean, the whole reason they took money away was probably because I don't think that the expectations for this film are going to be anywhere close to the money it's going to make, right?
No, they've already doubled the estimate that Fox had set for the movie.
Yeah. So. I mean, they're talking about it can make up, I think they're going for triple digits, right?
I think.
Not only are they going for triple digits, but it's looking to be the biggest R-rated opening ever.
Beating, what was it?
American Pie?
No. Matrix Reloaded, I think. Mm-hmm. And Matrix Reloaded was a May film, not fucking February. Films don't do this in February.
Movies like this change the rules, though, which is great. Yeah. I love that I hate that crush where everybody's trying to get their shit out in the summertime. I like that they're spreading it out. Yeah. And if you spread it out, we can see all your movies.
Yeah.
Don't do one of these things where you're suffocating one of the movies where you're drowning it because you think it all has to come out in the summertime.
And is there anything coming out in the next 2 weeks that could slow this thing down? I mean, this thing could have
Gods of Egypt.
This thing could have seriously a solid 4-week run.
I'm planning on seeing it again.
Every.
I enjoyed it so much. I want to go see it again.
I actually wouldn't mind seeing it again because I missed so many. I missed so many jokes because the whole fucking.
Because we were laughing. I mean, there was points where I had to look over and Mac's laughing and I'm laughing and I'm like, shit, I know I missed something because they're talking on screen, but you can't hear them because everyone's laughing so loud. So
and and the other thing too is I thought the performances were really good.
Yeah,
like the British guy who was the villain. Francis,
that intro was great. British guy or British villain.
I didn't catch it immediately and I was like, wait, are they?
No, the first one I saw. I told Mac, I was like, does that say overpriced star? What? And then everyone started reading them.
Laughing and laughing.
Yeah, that was great.
But I thought he was good. Like I expected him to be some cheeseball transporter villain who doesn't say anything the whole time. But I thought he was good.
I like the angry Rosie O'Donnell.
Gina Carano.
Gina Carano.
Yeah,
she didn't say anything, and that's what I was expecting.
I thought she was really good in Haywire. I don't know why all these movies just refuse to let her talk. Maybe she doesn't work as well with everybody besides Steven Soderbergh. But I do feel bad that apparently she's the silent female muscle in all these movies now.
She's still 2 words the whole movie. But that's what
I just love the part where she's like, Colossus is blocking out, and he's like, your tits hanging out. She's like,
that was funny too. That was so sweet of you.
Yeah. Boom. I was great movie, dude. I think I'm gonna have to buy it. It's gonna have to be bought.
I think it might have some decent.
I want to see the extras
but anyway, it's just even the acting I thought was good. Was good in this movie. I there weren't any nail on a chalkboard performances for me, and usually it's the lame semi-known. I've seen that guy in other things. But
the Ajax.
Yeah, I've seen him in other things, but I expected him to be another cardboard cutout Jason Statham, but not nearly as popular actor. Like I thought he was really good in this. So I had no.
He did Smug really well. Like they should get him in for one of the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah, oh, definitely. This guy has Fast and Furious franchise villain written all over.
Listen, I've been thinking.
Really?
About why we're so good together.
Why is that?
Well, your crazy matches my crazy. Big time. And we're like two jigsaw pieces, the weird curvy edges.
But you fit them together and you see the picture on top.
Right.
Wait. There's something I've been meaning to ask you. Only because you haven't gotten around to asking me. Will you,
marry me?
Jinx?
Huh.
Why were you hiding that?
Nowhere.
I got the miniseries, I think, in 93 or 94, and I bought the first issue of that. Fabian Nicieza wrote it, and Joe Madureira, I think it was just like one of his first Marvel works, he drew it. I never made it past the first issue. It had the embossed cover and everything. They did a second miniseries with Mark Waid and Ian Churchill and Ken Lashley and Lee Weeks, and clearly Churchill would totally blown his deadlines. It helped to humanize him, and it connected him more with Siren, Banshee's daughter, and brought him more into the X-Men universe. But it took him all the way till like 97 before they started doing the actual Deadpool ongoing series. And there's a couple of no-name creators, Joe Kelly, Ed McGuinness. This was at a time, I think Heroes World had already started imploding Marvel specifically, but it also had impacted the whole market. So they put this book with these no-name creators, and nobody thought anything was ever going to come of it, but it became a cult hit. It lasted 3 years under those guys. Then Christopher Priest did it with Jim Calafiore. The Christopher Priest stuff was kind of fun. I liked they brought in the Constrictor, because that was one of the only times I read Deadpool on any kind of a regular basis was because Marvel was doing strip cover returns. So I was like, great, I'll read these when I'm taking a shit, when I'm in the bathtub, So I read a number of issues during that time period, and they were cute. They were definitely pretty sense of humor, a lot of self-referential stuff. There's a sequence that a lot of people point out to where he shows up and he throws this bag into this tar pit, and it's supposed to be everything that made this book work. And then he walks into this trailer park, and the trailer park is full of nothing but characters that Christopher Priest had previously written and got their series canceled, like Power Man and Iron Fist, Steel, Hawkman, Kazar, Quantum and Woody. And so they're all like, oh, now that he's doing you, you're doomed. And it was this running gag through the book. And at the end of Priest's run, Deadpool shows back up at the trailer park, and he's got Christopher Priest's body in the bag to throw into the tar pit. And I think that's when Gail Simone took it over. I've had exposure to him here and there ever since then. And I made a point, I wanted to read up on the character before the Deadpool movie came out. And so you go online and you try to see, okay, what's recommended reading? What's the stuff that you need to read to kind of catch up on the character? Yeah, and their idea of essentials was, okay, here's Deadpool Classic. This collects all of his appearances for the first 2 years. Here's the Joe Kelly run. Read all 3 years of this guy's run. That's essential. Read the entire Daniel Way run, which was like another couple or 3 years, plus issues of Wolverine Origins. And like everything was this fucking omnibus edition. They couldn't give you like single issues. But right before I went to go see the movie, I was recommended, they had a better list. I think Screen Rant did it, where they gave you like issues or at least short 6-issue runs. So there was a X-Men Origins Deadpool, and that was actually a pretty good book where it explained how he was fucked up and how his dad left and his mom was a drunk and all this kind of bullshit. That one wasn't bad, but from trying and reading those 2 miniseries and reading the old New Mutant stuff, I was going to try to see if we could read something about the character before we saw the movie, and I fucking hated it. It's like, it's all the bad stuff from the 90s that you hated, all the mysterious origins, all the fights that don't amount to anything. I read that first Deadpool miniseries. I can't tell you anything about it. I don't remember anything. I only read it a few weeks ago, and it's already completely left my mind. And I just kind of came to hate the character, because you see all these douchebag kids running around with Deadpool shirts.
Lots of douchebag kids. He's like a douchebag mascot.
It's not really my kind of character anymore. I kind of grew out of that shit.
New age millennial shitbox Punisher.
See, and what got me too is I really liked Amos Bug growing up as a kid, and that was another guy who took from like Looney Tunes and from all those old classic kind of cartoons and then brought it into comic books. And you had like the Madcap action, but you also had a lot of fourth wall breaking and comedy and stuff. And then when you give it to Deadpool, it's like, oh, we're going to add guns and fart jokes and just like make it as base as possible.
Hello there, ladies and some gentlemen. It's me, Deadpool. Check this out. Oh, hello. You're probably thinking, my boyfriend said this was a superhero movie. Well, surprise. This is actually, lucky you, a love story.
I love you, Wade Wilson. We can fight this.
You're right. The cancer's only my liver, lungs, prostate, and brain. All things I can live without.
What if I told you we can make you better? You're a fighter. We can give you abilities most men only dream of. Make you a superhero.
You just promise you'll do right by me, so I can do right by someone else.
And please don't make the super suit green or animated.
One thing that never survives this place is a sense of humor.
We'll see about that, Posh Spice. Oh, come on. You gonna leave me all alone here with less angry Rosie O'Donnell? Daddy needs to express some rage.
It reeks like old lady pants in here.
Why such a douche this morning?
Sounds like you have a dick in your mouth.
Oh, motherfucker, you are hard to look at.
Like a testicle with teeth.
You look like Freddy Krueger face fucked a topographical map of Utah.
Oh. I'm touching myself tonight.
Okay, now why don't you fucking talk about the movie?
Dude, we've been talking about
Okay, well, no, it's just I enjoyed it. It was amusing. I thought it was cute. I didn't laugh terribly much. I laughed a few times. It's because you guys saw it during a Saturday evening showing, so you probably had that extra energy from the audience. When we saw it, we caught it at a Friday matinee, and so it was us and, I don't know, less than 20 other people. And mostly the people were quiet. You could hear people digging into their bags of candy most of the time. So I caught pretty much all the jokes. You mentioned, though, where they were going through the seasons of sexuality between Wade and Vanessa.
Yeah.
It's hard to catch all those jokes because they're so quick and so transgressive. I liked it fine. Having some background with Deadpool, I do feel like they really polished some rough spots on the character. Things like Blind Owl, the woman that he was cohabitating with. In the comics, she's actually his captive. He imprisons her, and so they have this fucked up relationship, and sometimes he punishes Weasel when he's not happy with him. And so he's a darker, more fucked up, because like in this movie, I didn't get the sense of him being crazy. He was just kind of a smart ass and kind of a goof. And because he's breaking the fourth wall and we're the audience there with him, we know that he's talking to us. So it's the other characters that look like goofballs when they don't do the same thing. Where in the comics, he's clearly fucked in the head. So I think that they did stuff like have the full frontal nudity and the Walking Dead caliber gore to make up for how they had to soften the lead character. And it was funny because you just had all those advertisements where they were pushing it as a romantic comedy coming out on the 14th, and you think that they're being ironic, you think they're joking. It really is a romantic comedy. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a strong potential crossover audience with Ryan Reynolds' normal movies, his Just Friends and shit like that. And you know, like Walking Dead, one of the reasons why that show is so popular is because you've got a coalition. You've got people who wouldn't normally watch a horror show who are watching it for the more soap opera elements, and they get more invested in the characters. And even if they can't tolerate the gore, they can look away, and then the character stuff will kick in afterwards. I think that's the same thing here. I think Ryan Reynolds is bringing a whole different audience to this movie. Plus, you get the superhero audience, and I think that's part of where it's making so much of its money. But in regards to how they're portraying Deadpool in his world, they do kind of pussify him a little bit, and it really is at its core a romantic comedy with a lot of violent action as well. And I love that they're bending genres. I think that's cool, but I'm wondering, I really want to hear how like hardcore Deadpool fans are going to feel about the softening of his character.
Okay, so you were wrong because he said you were going to hate this movie.
Yeah, I thought for sure you're going to hate it.
He said you were going to fucking murder it.
No. My concern was I didn't know if we were going to be able to get a full podcast out of discussing it because there really isn't a lot to talk about. It's a fun
all you
movie.
can do is the greatest
cute.
hits from it, like all the great scenes from it, but that's not a real podcast.
Let me put it to you this way. If I have the choice between a Deadpool sequel and a Green Hornet sequel, I'd rather see another Green Hornet movie.
Really?
Yeah, I like the Green Hornet. I thought that was fun.
I laughed.
I
need to watch it again.
I laughed more at Green Hornet. I like the action choreography in that better. But if they never make another Green Hornet movie, I like the one they made. I like the Deadpool movie they made. I'm not worried about them making any more. I'm not worried about a franchise, but it's going to happen because this movie's making buku bucks. This is nothing like the other X-Men movies.
Yeah.
And it's so much better than shit like the Wolverine solo movies. I still haven't seen the Wolverine. I've seen parts of it. I love that they're just going in a whole different place. I love that's allowing them to expand the X-Men universe so it can be more than just that same X-Men vibe in every fucking movie.
Well, they really took a lot of shots of it.
They really did.
Movies.
But what's funny to me is one of the big things is Colossus is trying to redeem Deadpool. He thinks that he can be a hero. He thinks he can work with the X-Men. And that would work if this were a cartoon. But the X-Men kill people. In most of the Marvel movies, I don't think there's been a single Iron Man movie where the majority of the villains weren't killed at the hands of Iron Man.
Right,
I think Justin Hammer's the only guy who really... Justin Hammer and Mandarin survived, but they weren't the real villains. So it's like, it's not a big deal if Deadpool kills his villain, who he's got a really personal stake in killing. I guess that there's a more visual, it's more visceral the way that Deadpool kills, but all the Marvel heroes and all the DC heroes are killers anyway.
Well, but he
that doesn't ring true to me. It just made Colossus seem like a goof when he's on the same team with Wolverine, who does the same kind of shit Deadpool does.
Yeah, but I think they just kind of had that there to show you that Deadpool isn't the hero. Well, he doesn't operate.
But that's what makes it bullshit.
He's got a duffel bag full of guns. That's not how the X-Men operate. I mean,
I guess, but he really isn't that different. I think that that's an opportunity for them to sell you him as an anti-hero, but in the current climate, he's really not an anti-hero, especially with the softening of the character.
But
he's just another flavor of X-Men. Right, he's the funny, crazy one.
I know, but he's still trying to recruit him to be an X-Man. If he's not shunning him because he's killing all these people, he's still trying to recruit him. It's not like he's like, oh, now you're the bad guy and we're gonna,
Well, he did try to arrest him that time.
Yeah, no, I don't think he was trying to arrest him.
He handcuffed him to himself.
Well, then why would later on he said, I still want you to become a member of the X-Men if he was trying to arrest him? I think he was trying to get him out of there.
Mhm.
I don't think he was trying to arrest him.
No, I don't think he was trying to arrest him.
Well, he was trying
Otherwise,
to
later on, he would have continued to have attempted to arrest him.
Well, if he wasn't arresting him, then Colossus was kidnapping Deadpool, which doesn't make him look very heroic either.
No, I think you're
reading a little too much into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he cut his own arm off to get away from Colossus. So.
Well, because he was obsessed with his.
But the guy was already gone.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay.
Go get some.
She gonna do a superhero landing. Wait for it. Woo! Superhero landing.
Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
Totally impractical. They all do it. You're a lovely lady, but I'm saving myself for Francis. That's why I brought him.
I prefer not to hit a woman, so please play.
One thing, too, I want to point out is that even though none of the characters are developed well enough besides Deadpool, they're all one-dimensional, but I have to appreciate that all the women in this movie did cool shit, and none of them were real damsels in distress, even Vanessa, who the whole thing is trying to rescue her at the end of the movie, but she wasn't a sissy about it, and she didn't have powers like everybody else. She's fighting people who do have powers, so there's only so much she could do, but like Negasonic Teenage Warhead kicked a lot of ass. I don't know, was that supposed to be Arclight that Gina Carano was playing?
I don't know.
They were calling her
the Marauder?
Were they calling her Angel? Angel?
They called her Angel, but I don't think she was supposed to be like Angel.
No, I know, but is that Arclight's real name?
I don't know.
I don't know. I couldn't tell who she
I thought she might be Frenzy, but Frenzy was black. Darklight, she looked the most like. But she was tearing up on Colossus. They had a really cool fight. I actually liked, because you don't see that very often, where you see a human character fighting a CGI character and that with that level of physicality. So I thought that was pretty cool. And action sequences were really badass.
Yeah, they were.
So, I love when
I don't think
Deadpool's fighting the women. He's like, "Is it sexist? And I've got to hit you."
The schoolgirls.
Yeah.
I do think I don't think this movie's gonna age well because the CGI in a few years is gonna. It's like whenever we look at.
It's a little rubbery. It's true.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think that
think it
because
plays
it's
for it.
comedic. Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
comedic. I think people are going to give it a lot more slack than they would.
I saw it almost like a Bugs Bunny type movie.
No,
like,
so did I.
I almost saw it like Roger Rabbit, kind of that cartoony real life.
Mm-hmm.
So it never took me out of the movie. That the special effects.
No,
I
it
just think
never took me out either.
It just kind of
Hey, so were they fighting on a helicarrier at the end of the movie?
That's what I thought it
That's
was.
by some shit. What? Oh, you mean a Marvel area?
It looked like a Marvel helicarrier.
Yeah. I thought it was.
I just thought it was a big battleship thing.
No,
But
dude,
it had big turbines on the side.
Did it?
Yeah,
Okay,
if
maybe
you
they were
looked on the
doing
far right, it looked like a turbine. I thought
didn't-
the same thing.
I didn't catch that, but I can see
Dude,
where
they
you're
had
coming
so
from.
they did the joke from the first Wolverine movie with the toy. There was a lot of Green Lantern jokes.
What joke was that?
Where the first time Deadpool comes out at the end of the Wolverine movie, his mouth's covered and he has claws and stuff. That toy when he's picking
Oh
up the
yeah,
album
the
cover,
action figure. I saw that. Yeah.
that was a dig at the Wolverine movie.
I saw the Green Lantern in his wallet or whatever that was.
That one,
Green
he made
Lantern
jokes
card
about it. Yeah.
Several jokes about Green Lantern. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, dude, they were just making digs all over. I thought it was funny. I really enjoyed it. It's,
I liked where he was like, "It's a real big house, but I've only seen the two of you." It's almost like they couldn't afford to get another.
Did that ever take you out of it when he broke that fourth wall?
No. Honestly, I was entertained. One of my favorite things because, like, since I didn't have other people laughing, I caught the majority of the jokes. I laughed at some of the jokes. The rest of them I just thought were cute. Where was I going with that?
It was a good crowd
But anyway,
movie.
but the stuff that I tended to like the best was the fourth wall stuff and the wink wink I'm really Ryan Reynolds stuff. I enjoyed that.
It was a good crowd movie. You should have gone to go see it with more people.
Yeah, it was
a good
fun.
crowd movie.
Because I got something. The only part that kind of took me out was when they kept doing all that slow mo stuff. Like that just got tiresome to me after a while. Because it
I
seemed to
remember
be.
that. I remember the extended one over the credits. but I don't
for a
remember too
good
many.
first third of the movie, there was always something. Yeah, just
I like though
slow mo.
the Zombieland guys wrote this, and I felt like there's a bit of a continuity from Zombieland to this with the bullet thing where they were counting down the bullets.
Yeah,
and that was part of the slow mo sequence. But I like that. That was fine. I like the Indian cab driver too.
Yeah, the cab driver.
Oh
was all
yeah,
good.
dude, that was great.
I like how he kept forgetting his guns everywhere.
When I love that part where he goes when he's chastising him about it, he goes, "I'm really proud of you." Yeah. Under his breath.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
doing like a supplemental guy thing.
Yeah, that was great. So I
have to say, I love the physical acting of Ryan Reynolds, the way he was able to act around a full face mask. I thought he did a great job.
And I thought that the eye movements all worked really well.
Yeah. I like the glassy eyes too. It looked cool. It didn't look like Spider-Man.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't try and put eyes in there. They just took the white slits and they just made them move up and down like you would in a comic book. And I thought that it worked really well and was effective.
Yeah, he kept the fucking mask on. Thank God they didn't do that Spider-Man shit where he just somehow manages to lose his mask for 75% of the movie. He doesn't have the mask for chunks of the movie. It makes sense when he doesn't have the mask, and it makes perfect sense when he does have the mask.
And you've got Ryan Reynolds, so they could have totally copped out and had some way. They do cure his fucked up face.
Well,
so
even in the comics, he used one of those holographic projectors like Nightcrawler used to always use. So they had
could
an
have totally
out.
copped out with that bullshit, and I'm glad they didn't do it. They kept him disfigured and fucked up. And
especially with the creepy little hand.
Although I frankly, that was cool. That was nice.
awesome.
I like that.
When he's rubbing her chin.
It's gonna feel so big right now. Go.
That was one of the best bits.
No, the best one was where where they're rewinding, and all of a sudden you get to that masturbation scene where he's masturbating with a unicorn.
Right, touching it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Well, and then they call back to it in the credits too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the unicorns. Oh man.
Oh, hello, Deadpool here. I always wanted to be a professional athlete. Because I wanted to have children in cities all over the world. A hush falls over the crowd as rookie sensation Deadpool lines up the shot. His form looks good.
Why the fancy red suit, Mr. Poole?
When a dude tries to make you a super slave and kidnaps your future baby mama, the time has come to be a superhero. Hear the music. This is taking unsportsmanlike conduct to a whole new level. Don't worry, I'm totally on top of this.
Hey, you wonder what I think? I think that Rob Liefeld's art is better suited today than it was back in the 90s.
Really?
I think that
I never liked his art.
I think his shit now, because back then it was so stark, his shitty anatomy.
No feet.
Well, yeah. But you know, his whole thing with the no feet is that he loved Mike Mignola, and he's like, go look at every Hellboy cover ever, and you'll never see Hellboy's feet. So that
I think he called out Silvestri on that too.
Yeah, he's not the only guy. Anyway, so he gets a lot of fucking hate, partially because he's kind of arrogant, right?
Well, no, but to me they all look the same. All their styles were very similar.
All the image guys, or all the okay,
dude, they're all very similar. Like, I'd hate to say,
but they were all super different from everybody else working at the time, right? Like, they weren't John Byrne, right? I mean,
that's the thing, though. All those guys had the same influences, though. So they had similarities in what made them hot. But also you had guys like, I would say Eric Larson, for instance. He had a different style from the rest of those guys, but he started embracing image techniques and incorporating them into his art. And that's how he became an image artist, was by looking and seeing what these other guys were doing that were making them hot. In particular, following Todd McFarlane. I think he incorporated a lot of McFarlane's style into his that made him a superstar.
But anyway, I see Liefeld's art now, and I think that it holds up better than it did back then, because now art styles are all over the place. It's not nearly as homogenized as it was back then. Like, there were no anime style artists back in the early 90s. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, well, now there's a freaking dime a dozen. Like, they're all over the place now. Cartoonier the better, super realistic. You've got them everywhere. So when I see his shit now, computer colored and stuff, to me it looks like it kind of fits in today's era too. Like, it doesn't look as out of place as it was back then, where his anatomy was all super shitty and fucked up. I don't know, because now anatomy nobody cares as much about anatomy now as they used to.
You're saying I kind of get what you're saying, where there's a whole generation of artists that grew up under the heavy-handed editors. These guys who didn't know art, they knew comic books, they were trained in how comic books are supposed to look, and so you'd have art directors drilling into these artists the proper anatomy. How many heads tall should this character be? Especially once you had the influence of a manga that got so big in the late 90s with the big feet and the more esoteric art styles. It wasn't like everybody had to do the draw comics the Marvel way type of characters anymore. So you have a lot more flexibility in how you're going to interpret the human form and how your storytelling is. It's okay to do decompressed storytelling with a lot of speed lines because everybody read Dragon Ball that's reading comic books today, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So when I look at his stuff now, it doesn't look as, it's not as, I don't want to, it's kind of messed up to say, it's not as bad as I remembered, but I look at it now and I'm like, it's not as bad as we all thought it was back then. You know what I mean? Like, we used to tear that shit. He was fucking Wizard Magazine joke about.
He was the punching bag.
He was the punchline. Always. He was the, and it's just not that bad. Look at it, it's just not that bad.
I'd have to revisit it. I was never a big image guy. Their art styles to me always felt so similar.
No, you're dumb, because fucking Jim Lee's one of the greatest comic book artists of all time.
Art is subjective. Jim Lee's, his style's alright, but no.
I'll be honest with you. Jim Lee, when he came on X-Men, we all just went nuts for him. That was exactly the comic book that everybody wanted to read up to that point. Anybody who grew up on Mike Golden and Ari Adams and John Byrne, it's like he did everything that they did and added some stuff, and and we all freaking loved it. But I'll be honest with you, I've grown so bored with Jim Lee's art. It's just like, I can't get excited for it anymore because it's so predictable. I know exactly how he's going to interpret everything he draws, so it just doesn't jazz me up. I still get excited for Rob Liefeld, and part of it's sort of like Neil Adams once said that your art style are the things you do wrong. And I don't know if he meant that as a compliment or criticism to the artists that were coming in after him. With Liefeld, I know there are a lot of things that he gets wrong, and he doesn't get the same things wrong all the time. He's kind of inconsistent in that, but I enjoy his mistakes. I want to see how he's going to interpret this character because nobody else is going to draw the character the way Liefeld does. So he stayed interesting to me, where with Jim Lee, he's so precise in how he renders characters. His male types are all the same. His female types are all the same. You know pretty much exactly what you're going to get when he draws a story.
And you have to respect the fact that after all these years, he could just photo reference something, and he's like, fuck it, I'm not doing it. I got to put more little scratch marks on the forehead and off the nose, my little tiny boxy rectangular noses. He just does the same shit over and over again. I got no problem with that. What I always loved about Rob Liefeld was his guns, because like Jim Lee was the opposite, where you could tell like Jim Lee's like, how would this gun work, right? Like, because I mean, and he did Punisher. That was why he did Punisher so well. Like, that gun looked like you could literally go take it to a manufacturer and they could make it.
I think he often was doing actual guns, like referencing those guns, because he was going to school to be a doctor, and I know he used a lot of his anatomy and his references to make sure his stuff was accurate.
Whereas Liefeld's guns were like these like tubes with sometimes like padding on them. They had like leather pads on them and shit, and like rivets, and it's like, what the fuck? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. But now looking back on it, it's way more interesting than Jim Lee's photo referenced guns that you could go take to a manufacturer and they would be like, oh, we've got that on aisle 4. You know what I mean? At the time though, Jim Lee was like the evolved John Buscema and Neil like he was the refreshening of that, where all those characters looked perfect. You know what I mean?
Like licensing perfect. You want them on a Slurpee cup, that kind of thing.
Right. They looked even, and that's why everybody wanted Jim Lee to draw their character.
If you go to Walmart or Target and you buy a Marvel shirt, there's a really good chance it's going to, or a DC shirt, there's a really good chance it's going to have Jim Lee art on it, because that's like what people picture in their minds, the perfect superhero design style, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and even like, I remember there was always a big deal on that the dresses that the X-Women would wear, because they looked, I think like he would actually either design those dresses, but they looked like they could be runway dresses. Like he like everything.
Oh, you mean when they were in plain clothes?
Right, in plain clothes, right? Like the dresses they were in, like just the way he did all that shit, way over the top. Nobody else did shit like that Jim Lee was doing at the time. But now looking back on it, it's not as different. And a lot of it is probably because he influenced so many people drawing today that it's not as special as it was.
I don't know. I've never seen. There's not a lot of guys that can never draw quite like Jim Lee. There are people that took elements of his style. Right. There's some guys that draw exactly like so and so. Like Michael Turner is one of the best examples, and obviously Neil Adams is one of the most classic examples. There are literally dozens of guys who draw exactly the fucking same as that guy. Where I don't think anybody ever came out that really drew exactly like Jim Lee. He's just so specific in his style.
But
it's individual to him. I find it repetitive though. It's
right. Well, at this point, he's been doing the same thing for so long. Yeah. Right.
But Liefeld's repetitive too. But I kind of enjoy the fantasy of his ridiculous guns. I just enjoy it. I embrace the fantasy of Liefeld more.
Another part of it too is that Liefeld never got the exposure Jim Lee did.
He got pretty good exposure though. I mean, Rob Liefeld was the guy in the fucking Levi's commercials.
Yeah, that was a long time ago though. That was a long time ago. Whereas Jim Lee went on to go do Batman.
Right.
You know what I mean? Liefeld never went on to go do Batman. He was doing Supreme for a while.
I don't think
shit like that.
Liefeld actually played the politics. To me, Jim Lee
always didn't Image throwing him out and shit? And
I think so.
He ended up having some bad blood with those guys. And I think his attitude kind of burned some bridges in the industry, even though a lot of those guys burned bridges in the industry. And let's face it, his Image book was the one that kind of flamed out too. It wasn't like
But dude, he had a real bad problem with punctuation. Like his books never came out on time.
Oh, that's good.
Jim Lee was always the company guy. I think that Jim Lee was the main guy they had to really work to get to break away from Marvel and come to Image, where Liefeld had tried to do an art book through Malibu, if I remember correctly. And he also was trying to do a little spin-off series called, I think it was Exterminators. He actually advertised it in like Comic Buyer's Guide or something. And Marvel just went all over his ass. Like, you cannot do that. We own the letter X, motherfucker. You know, that kind of shit.
But wasn't he real bad with punctuation too with his books? Weren't they always late?
Liefeld, no, he wasn't bad. The thing with Liefeld is his books would come out on time, but he often had
helping other people.
Artists like Murat Michaels and Brian Murphy, who did Supreme, and he had a whole group of people that could kind of help him get those books put out. And really the late greatness wasn't a major issue until after Image got started. But basically, McFarlane was the guy. He'd already sold his 2 million copies of Spider-Man. He was already burning out on the whole Marvel system, and he figured if he was going to do any more comic books, he was going to be his own copyrights, and he was going to make all of his money. So he was the really militant one, and Liefeld was inspired by that example, and also I think he was just another guy who knew that if you really wanted to make it, at some point you're going to have to do it on your own, because Marvel's just going to chew you up and spit you out inevitably. And those two combined, I think, managed to talk Jim Lee out of staying with Marvel, because I think otherwise he'd have just been their corporate guy, just like he is now. At DC, he's a corporate guy. Yeah, I think he's just geared for it. Or Liefeld's a guy who's always going to want to do what he wants to do, and if you don't like it, he's going to give you the finger.
It's almost Australia Day. I mean, seriously, I'd fit right in with your proud nation, with its shady criminal past and its predilection for blackout drinking and unrelenting condescension toward New Zealand. Only one teeny problem. You gave us Wolverine. And for that, I can't forgive you. I've got no problems with Hugh. I mean, he's a delightful guy. He really is. True legend. But the movie, that was a career low for me. You understand. Anywho, why am I here? Oh, right. Happy Australia Day. Because that's a real thing. Throw another shrimp on the Barbie. I know you say that one, too. Oh, shit, that's a hat. You guys wear this. I thought I was getting swarmed by fucking diddly Australian bees.
I do want to see him paired off with Cable. I'd like to see them go for
you just realize, though, this Comic Palooza will be billions of
it's going to be
There already are.
Steampunk.
That's new.
Yeah.
No, but this time, dude, it's going to be a flood.
I think it's going to
50 Jokers and Harley Quinns and Deadpool.
But it's going to be the
That's what it's always been.
Jared Leto Jokers.
Yeah. Oh, God, I hope not.
I am very turned on right now.
What did you think of the stingers at the end? The stinger.
I thought that was great. I thought
it was funny because we talked about that. Where we were trying to talk about what the first real stinger was.
Yeah.
Come on, they stole our bit.
Bout. Yeah.
They stole our bit.
Yeah. I told man
they probably stole it from Sexy Sex Man too, but still.
So that was
funny. It's like we managed to beat them to that. So
when I heard that, I'm like, I told him, oh my God, they took our song.
Where he's like, I'll find you in the afterlife on my boombox of Careless Whisper, and I was like, oh, Careless Whisper.
And then she's playing it. That was great.
Yeah, on his phone, which another one of our fucking bits.
Thing, yeah.
That's totally one of our bits where we played the song on our phone.
The movie.
Yeah, and me bear.
But
I did like the bit between the two of them where he was all like, yeah, I was trapped in a house or whatever. She's like, so you had a house. And then they would devolve from there. And I like how they picked that up later on.
Dude,
that was a good one.
They were getting like, she's like, well, I was molested by my uncle. And he was like, I was molested by...
No, he was like, I was molested by my uncle. She's like, I was molested by my uncles.
Yeah, they took turns. I was like, oh my God, dude. That was pretty intense. I love the fact that she was like a hooker too.
She's not a hooker.
She's not all pristine.
Yeah, she wasn't pristine.
He's fucked up. She's fucked up.
Yeah, so it matched his crazy. I like that.
And that's one thing too that they did great in this movie that they don't do very well in most superhero movies. That was a real relationship. They had real chemistry.
Yeah.
He had more chemistry. Ryan Reynolds had more chemistry with Miranda Baccarin in this movie than he did with his future wife, Blake Lively, in fucking Green Lantern. If you look at most of the Marvel movies, I mean, Tony Stark is supposed to give up an avalanche of poon for Gwyneth Paltrow. It's like I'm just not seeing
really
that.
Stuck up.
And I like Pepper Potts in those movies, but it's like this is one of the truest superhero movie relationships I've ever seen because they actually took the time to invest you in that relationship, and both the characters had vitality to them. She was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed her when she was on screen. She was great in the movie.
She was really good.
From jump, dude. I was just like, oh, wow. I could see why.
But at the same time, though, they did make her like a manic pixie dream girl. They even referenced it in the movie where she makes the Star Wars joke, and he's like, "You made a Star Wars joke."
Yeah,
and she's like, "Empire." Oh God. It was good. I thought that was a very good movie.
Very good.
I enjoyed it.
It was. I think on the podcast a year or so ago, I called that this was going to be a fucking awful piece of garbage.
Oh yeah, you were dragging your heels until a few months ago.
Oh my God, because I thought it was going to be nothing but we're going to say fuck a lot, and they did say fuck a lot in my defense, but it did have an actual plot. Like you said, that they dedicated time in the movie to build up that relationship, and just they didn't have to do any of that shit. And they could have copped out with making him a mutant face just to put Ryan Reynolds' face all over the place. And I thought they did it the right way. They moved and they didn't. I don't know. They didn't puss out.
Maybe taking that $7 million was good because it just. You're right. I'm thinking about it as I'm playing it in my head again. There was nothing but just like straight killer on it. Like I can't think of a scene where I was like the whole time I was either sitting watching or I would lean forward because I was really engaged with the film. So I can't think of a scene where I was like bored or taken out of the movie. Yeah. And they went all.
How long was it? What's the runtime? Check that IMDb, kid.
It has to be super short, dude.
I really don't think it's as short as you think.
Really? Because it felt short.
That's what she said.
You need the little miniature hand.
Like where he was like, there's X number of kilos of cocaine buried next to the cure for blindness. Oh my God, dude. And I loved all the back and forth about all the IKEA stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
108 minutes.
Really? Mm-hmm. Solid.
Yeah, almost 2 hours.
But under 2 hours.
So many superhero movies feel so fat. And there's always at least one extra set piece that they put in there.
Or too much story, like, yeah. Like,
not a story, it's always,
Well, no,
like
but
I
I
said,
mean,
it's
like-
either a
like-
subplot that
yeah,
you don't
subplots
need,
and stuff,
or there's another big action piece that you don't need because the movie should have already resolved. And what's cool with this one is you got the big one that opens the movie and kind of carries a good chunk of the movie while they're doing backstory. And you only have one more big set piece, and then that's it. 2 major action set pieces, and it's enough because you're satisfied. It works. You got little bits of action in the midst of it, but you know when the movie's ending, when you get to the big action set piece. It's not one of those damn things where you get another action set piece and then you got like a whole other thing you got to deal with and maybe another one besides.
Hi, Deadpool here with an important public service announcement. This is your brain. Actually, it's a chimichanga, but I'm making a point because this is your brain on IMAX. Bigger is better, right?
Describe your favorite chimichanga.
Hot, thick, 9 inches long, firm, moist on the inside, easy to grip, and less than $8. Next question.
Making a movie is complicated. It's a really big deal. Describe your process.
Well, my process has always been the same. I start with a single finger, but if I feel like there's room for 2 more, I just go for it.
So let's wrap it up here because there's not a lot to talk about this movie. So, are we happy for Rob Liefeld? Can the comic book community be happy for Rob Liefeld? For the love of God,
like I said, I like Rob Liefeld. You know, I know he's not a perfect person, and I know he said some things that's really about Deadpool. I mean, he's talked shit about Fabian Nicieza. Basically, said that a janitor could have wrote those scripts and it still would have been something. I don't think that's cool.
He didn't own.
But I think part of it though is that Liefeld just lacks that censor. He's someone who gets really into his shit, you know, including his verbal diarrhea. And I do think he kind of thinks better of that sometimes. I don't know. I think that Liefeld is who Liefeld is, and you gotta accept that. It's nice to see that they finally created a character beyond Wolverine and the Punisher in the 70s that has this crossover appeal for one of the major publishers.
I just think it's crazy that it's fucking Rob Liefeld.
I could care less. Don't care anymore.
Well, here's the thing, though.
What are you talking about? You could care less. I don't care. It's like but anytime anybody has ever brought up Liefeld, you go, I fucking hate that guy. I fucking hate. Now he's going to have quite possibly the largest opening for a rated R movie ever.
But that's just
like
it.
That is fucking crazy, dude.
But he co-created
the guy who
Deadpool.
quote unquote can't draw feet.
Yeah, dude, but the thing is, he's an artist. He co-created the character. But I think it's the writers after him, because actually
That's what I was about to say.
It's the writers who created the character. All he created was a look, which was, come on, let's be honest, was a ripoff from Deathstroke and Spider-Man.
Okay, so where's Deathstroke's movie?
It's probably coming, actually. They're talking about doing a Deathstroke movie.
That's fine, but guess
I would
what?
be shocked if he pops up in...
But guess what? Rob Liefeld beat into it.
No, but a Deathstroke movie would be very different from a Deadpool movie. Those are very different.
And probably not nearly as successful and virally fucking blowing up. It's true. Deathstroke has never been as popular as Deadpool is. Ever.
Because Deadpool is basically Spider-Man uncensored.
Okay.
He's that college bro ham.
Okay, but see, that's the thing. You can't just say, oh, he's just basically this and this. Well, then show me where everybody else is fucking doing it and making shit tons of money. Nobody else is.
Spider-Man with tons of money.
No, Spider-Man is Spider-Man. That's fine. But tons of people ripped off Spider-Man, but not all of them are having $140 million 3-day openings. So if it's so easy, then where is it? It's not easy. I just think that people are so quick to well, he was just the artist. All he did was compare. He just combined fucking Deathstroke and Spider-Man. That was it. Anybody could have done that. Well, if anybody could have done it, where the fuck did they do it? Where's
But
Eric
they do it. You had Spawn come out. Spawn made millions of movies.
Nobody even knows what fucking Spawn is anymore.
Doesn't matter. It was what it came out, dude. The point is, comic book movies will come out. Okay, he already had a built-in audience because he's a kooky character in all the books. He's a wisecracking asshole. He's a lovable character. But in terms of a movie, okay, he's perfect for a movie. Yes. Does Rob Liefeld get credit because he created him? He drew him. He probably had some input. But all the writers after that is what made Deadpool.
I think people are rushing to dismiss his part of it too much. And if you created the fucking character, you created the character.
But that's
part of what made him so appealing was that he looks like Spider-Man.
But
if you would have made him
he looks like another character.
If you would have made him yellow and blue with a bunch of stripes all over him, nobody would have been like, oh, okay, he would fucking go away. Nobody
Actually,
gives a shit.
I don't think the color scheme matters all that much. What we were talking about, who decided to make him the goofy, wisecracking character? Fabian Nicieza. Rob Liefeld didn't come up to him and say, yeah, make him the wisecracker. He drew the issue, I think. The way it probably worked. It probably worked the way that they did old Marvel method, where Liefeld drew the issue and him and Nicieza maybe talked about some stuff or he gave Nicieza some notes. But Nicieza is the guy who actually made him the Merc with a Mouth, the guy who's making all these jokes and is more of a... if you look at New Mutants number 98, there's a big thing where I remember John Byrne used to talk about this, where you look at a Captain America story, and in the story, it's clear that Red Skull shoots one of his Nazi commandants. But then Stan Lee went in there and he wrote that what had actually happened is Red Skull had shot the buttons off the commandant's jacket to teach him a lesson. And it completely recontextualizes what you just saw, because it went from him murdering a guy to him showing his incredible precision with the gun and so on and so forth. Point being, the dialogue matters. When you look at the New Mutants number 98, it's just an action sequence. It's Nicieza who came in there and wrote that dialogue that made him the character that people embraced. And really, it wasn't even that. It was Joe Kelly's run. And then the people who followed up on the path that Joe Kelly had blazed, like Gail Simone and Daniel Way, they made Deadpool the big name. The artists got the initial action. They're the ones who got people initially excited about the character. But in terms of actually making him the character that people want to adapt to
Flush
movies,
him out.
it came down to the writers. So in that respect, Rob Liefeld is in the same camp as Stan Lee. Rob Liefeld is the guy that everybody's going to focus on because he's the guy who drew the character. He's the reason why the character exists and the reason why people first paid attention to them. He's not the reason why people care about the character today. Very little of what people love about Deadpool goes back to Rob Liefeld, but because he was the originator and he's the one who is the face of Deadpool and is out there continuing to promote this character this day, he's going to get the lion's share of the credit just like Stan Lee did, despite the contributions of Jack Kirby.
Actually, Liefeld did create a Deadpool ripoff type of character in his books. I was a Brigade of one of them.
Bloodstrike?
Was it Bloodstrike?
I think
and it was a shitty character, and it pretty much was Deadpool, dude. Pockets and all, swords. All he did was change, like you said, the color scheme. And
I think he was blue and red.
And he wrote him the way he would have wrote Deadpool. They would not make a movie. He was a shit character throwaway.
I'm just saying.
He's done.
You can give Joe Kelly credit, but where's Joe Kelly's creator-owned creation that's made anything?
Actually, Joe Kelly was a big part of Ben 10. And,
Thank you for proving my point, because I don't know what the fuck
you know what Ben 10
said.
is?
I know
Ben 10 is
Did Ben 10 make $104 million in 3 days?
No, but it's had multiple.
And
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying.
probably
So,
did. Toys alone,
Yeah,
yes.
Ben 10 toys.
Toys alone,
Never heard of it. Never heard of it. So,
Oi, when the little one grows, you will.
sorry.
Is Ben 10 still a big thing in the?
Not as big as it was.
But Ben 10 revivals coming around.
I know
the
when
world,
I had
sure.
my brew, dude, it was everywhere. If you want 110,
I just don't get
they
where this-
probably sold that in a day.
I've never seen so many people go so quickly to dismiss a creator of a character
Well, because
as they
he
are
did
with
that
Rob
fucking
Liefeld.
New York Times, what he called a hit piece, and the reason why it was a hit piece is his direct quotes.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be side by side with fucking Joe Kelly the same day saying Joe Kelly's like it was fucking
Well,
bullshit.
Joe Kelly didn't create Deadpool though. He doesn't make.
Not Joe
that-
Kelly, Fabian Nicieza. Fabian Nicieza came out and said that was fucking bullshit. It's water under the bridge. Everybody calm down.
Yeah.
So if Fabian Nicieza is saying it, everybody else needs to fucking calm
that's
down.
true.
The guy he's allegedly ripping in that art, and let me tell you something. Rob Liefeld will re-fucking tweet anything you say about him, and he never once posted a link to that story because he said it's a hit piece. I didn't even.
You brought my attention
Right.
to that, and I read the tweets, and then I also read articles about it.
All the
and there
Dan Slott
was
stuff.
There was a mischaracterization, but also, like you said, if Nicieza doesn't have a problem, and I think my understanding, Liefeld made sure that Nicieza got a credit in the movie, from what I understand.
He was at the opening, standing next to him, and all the fucking pictures. Everybody needs to calm down.
Yeah, Nicieza got a credit. So at the end of the day, Liefeld did right by Nicieza. If Nicieza didn't have a problem, fucking let that shit go. But Dan Slott was one of the spearheads behind that, and Dan Slott's got a big fucking mouth, and he puts himself into shit that he shouldn't. He should fucking mind his own business.
And I don't want to get too much into that because it ended up going kind of crazy. And then again, by the time all that argument was done, Fabian Nicieza had already come out and said, it's not that big fucking deal. He and I have already talked. It's water under the bridge. And that kind of neuters your whole argument right there when you're all like, I'm fighting for Fabian Nicieza. And he's all like, I'm still with Rob Liefeld. And you're like, hey, okay. Right? I mean, but his whole point was that I guess he scripted something. And it's like, dude, you're scripters. I know, you can't give everybody, somebody has to be the creator. Somebody's got to be the creator. And usually the creator gets all this fucking credit. But for some reason, because it's Rob Liefeld, I think they know people just don't fucking like the guy. I've never seen some people so quickly trying to just, oh, well, you just created a Deathstroke ripoff. Like,
well, no,
like I know
Liefeld has
he
a history
did.
of this shit, though. He did the same stuff with Cable. He tries to claim exclusive credit for creating Cable, and Walt Simonson had to come out and defend his own wife because his wife wasn't wanting to get involved in this shit. She's not the kind of person that has those kind of slug
paid for
tests.
Cable too.
Huh?
I think he's gonna get paid for Cable too.
I think Cable's coming, yeah. But I think that Cable was a product of his time. I don't think you can. Nobody's ever updated Cable the way they updated Deadpool and kept him current with the times.
Yeah.
I don't think Cable has that appeal anymore because we've seen so many goddamn Terminator movies, and Cable is Schwarzenegger's
I think
Terminator.
a buddy Cable Deadpool. Well,
Yeah,
it's not his
but
own movie.
that's
it's not a
another thing,
Cable
too.
movie. It's Cable in Deadpool.
Fabian Nicieza wrote the lion's share of the Cable and Deadpool series, which is what kept Deadpool
He gonna get
alive
paid
after
too.
his own book was canceled. They combined the two characters because Cable's book had been canceled and Deadpool's book had been canceled. So they did a Power Man and Iron Fist where they combined the two of them. And a lot of the people who love Deadpool love him because they enjoyed the Cable and Deadpool, the relationship of him as the straight man and Deadpool as the wacky guy. That was Nicieza keeping Deadpool in the public eye. He deserves credit for that. So I understand why people would be so quick to attack Liefeld for that. But at the same time, at the end of the day, Liefeld did the stand-up thing. It's sort of like that bit from Pulp Fiction. You know, once a man's admitted his mistake, you've got to let it it go. And Liefeld did the right thing ultimately, let it go. Leave it alone. Now, Louis Simonson doesn't get any credit on the cable movie. That's when we can get all pissy again.
Oh, no, my point is I don't care either way whether he gets credit or not. That was my bit. Mac was the one who was like, well, I don't care about Liefeld. I've never liked his artwork, and I don't care for much of his books. So, okay, it's a good movie. Whoever wrote it did a great job, and the stuff I've read, anybody could have driven, in my opinion, but I enjoyed the writers. And you're the one that kind of introduced me to that, was to enjoy the writing and not get fixated on the art, because I was one of those goofy guys that was like, well, Deadpool's here, and he's drawn by... I got to the point where I don't care. It's all about the writing. Yeah. And the only reason I liked... You brought it to my attention that I liked him in the current X-Force was because someone wrote him really well. Yeah. If not, you could have had Spider-Man in that gray suit being a dick, and it probably would have worked just as well.
Didn't though.
No, they used Deadpool because he's an X-character.
Okay, so Rob Liefeld is easily one of the most trashed on creators in comic book history. He's the butt of everybody's joke, and I think that it's really pissing people off. That he gets
I think McFarlane gets attacked way more. Dude, he's such a douche about his toys and how he creates everything, and he takes credit of Angela and all these characters, and they're his, and then all of a sudden he loses control, and it's shown that, he buys Miracle Man, and he's going to republish it, and they take that away from him. So he's kind of... Liefield's a dick because he's the neighborhood kid who has the new toys, and he's a dick about it. McFarlane's a dick where he comes into your neighborhood, buys a house, and makes it the loudest house and says, I own this neighborhood. This neighborhood is because McFarlane will come out and say, I revolutionized comics. My artwork, when I drew Spider-Man, no one had ever drawn comics. And I'm like, oh, okay, yes, but you're a douchebag. Like,
right, no, I'm not doubting that Todd McFarlane's a douche.
I think he gets
nobody's ever straight up made fun of Todd McFarlane except when he bought that Mark McGuire baseball. Dude, that was the only time he became...
Dude, when he did the Tony Twist character, and it was sued by a hockey player.
But people weren't making fun of him for that, though. He paid for that shit.
Well, no, but they were making fun that he was using all these names that he knew existed and thought that he was so above them.
That's fine.
No
He's
one
a
would come at him.
douche. He's a douche. Rob Liefeld's a butt of jokes because they said the thing he does, a comic book artist, he can't do. People make fun of the way he draws for his entire career. Whenever you talk about the worst comic book artist of all time, Rob Liefeld's name will get brought up. I don't mind him doing a little showboating in the end zone when one of his creations, that just another guy with fucking pockets and swords, blurp, blurp, blurp. Well, those fucking pockets and swords are all over every fucking billboard in town, and commercials running nonstop 24 hours a day. And I think that as soon as he came out and he was like, that's my fucking character, I finally had success, people jumped all over him and they're like, well, it's not even really your character. A, he's derivative, and B, well, really all these other writers. And I just think, to me, it's hilarious because he's already such an interesting character in comic book history as it is. And when he finally fucking kind of has success, everybody's, well, it's not really your character. It's Spider-Man with swords. Oh, and Fabian Nicieza wrote it. Oh, so he was the creator. And then Joe Kelly was the one who made him popular anyway. The dude just cannot win. And then he gets pulled into that New York Times shit. And he's just like, the dude can't do anything. People are trying because they know.
Well, he talks.
No. He's not trying to. Look, he did this to himself.
He talks some serious
people
shit
just like bringing it up to him and showing him, shining a light on what he's done.
Look, I can't. I've never been a fan of Rob Liefeld's art. I don't think I ever bought a book that he did the art in. Honestly, I'm not sure, but. I kind of like watching, because I'm telling you, man, you read.
But didn't you just tell us that it held up time as artwork?
You read. No. Well, I don't.
No,
I don't buy any comic.
It's a whole different thing. Let's not even get back into that. That's a whole thing.
But I do. But like, man, if you click on any one of his tweets, even random tweets, you'll see some guy. Well, at least he draws feet or something. It's like, let this shit go.
Yeah.
Like, let it go. Yeah. It's the same jokes we were making back in 1995. The dude can't even get on social media with people talking about, why don't you throw some smoke on his feet so you can. Okay, we get it. Yeah, the anatomy's bad. We get it. Same old shit. So when Deadpool goes out and makes over $100 million this weekend, I want that dude to fucking post in all caps for the next 3 weeks about it.
Yeah.
Just to drive these trolls completely insane. I think it's going to be free.
I think that there's a lot of NB for Rob Liefeld. There always has been. He was the guy who got to be on TV commercials. The only comic book creator I can think of that was ever in a TV commercial. He was a millionaire very early in his career. He's still, as far as I know, a millionaire. This is a guy who had a life-sized Badrock sculpture made to take to conventions with him. He was just an overwhelming success story, but he's also one of these guys like a Dennis Rodman or a Charles Barkley who talks a lot of shit. So between talking shit and swiping and taking undue credit and his questionable anatomy and such, he's somebody
he did have pages that were definitely influenced.
Yeah. He's done a lot of shit that would piss people off, and he's not been humble about it.
No,
he's had incredible success at it. So I completely understand why he would have a lot of hatred for him within the creative community and amongst fans, especially because he is so much the epitome of the Chromium Age of comics. And that's something that's so broadly reviled by the remaining comic book creators. A lot of people still blame the Chromium Age for destroying the comic book industry, and it kind of did. But of all the people to hate of all the people that are really responsible for ruining comics, I think Rob Liefeld gets a disproportionate amount of blame. Because
Preach!
As a comic book fan, as a guy who was reading those X-Men books, as a guy who was really kind of getting tired of him by the point of Liefeld arriving too, he re-energized my interest. He was a character-creating machine, and with the help of scripters, just like Jack Kirby needed fucking scripters to make his shit work, there were a lot of interesting characters. A lot of characters were a lot of fun, a lot of characters that made me excited about comics, and made me excited about continuing to read X books after I started to get tired of them. I continued to read X-Force 2 years into the run. In fact, the only reason why I dropped it is I was dropping all of the X books because of Fatal Attractions. I still enjoyed the work of Fabian Nicieza and Greg Capullo on those books. I am glad that Liefeld and all those Image guys went out and formed that company and took that money and those fans with them, because Image is still alive today, and it is the creative mecca. If you want to have anything in comics where you're going to secure your retirement and have something that's going to get adapted into other media, and you'll continue the only rights, and you can actually have the freedom to create the sort of books you want to create, that place exists at Image, and that Image exists because of guys like Rob Liefeld, almost specifically Rob Liefeld. The two people you most have to credit for the existence of Image Comics are McFarlane and Liefeld. If those two guys, two of the biggest names in comics in their time, hadn't decided to make that break, Jim Lee wouldn't have. Will Spartacio wouldn't have. None of those other guys would have gone without those two guys. They were the linchpins. So you've got to, as much as you may want to take credit away from Liefeld for all of his faults, and he has many, at the end of the day, he built the House of Image. He energized a generation of artists. He created studios that spit out a lot of really talented artists who came and worked for him for a period of time. Some of them continue to work in the industry. Some of them moved on to other industries. You got guys like Jeff Matsuda that worked for Liefeld. He went off and did the Batman cartoons of the early 2000s. He works in animation now. Dan Fraga got started with Liefeld. He works in animation now. This guy built a lot of careers. He made a lot of money. He showed that you could own your own stuff and you didn't have to just give everything away to the companies. And you've got this history in our industry of all these guys that got fucked. And it wasn't until guys like Liefeld, almost specifically Liefeld, that you had the example that not only can you avoid getting fucked, but you can actually become a huge success. You can become somebody that people pay attention to outside of comics. Without a Liefeld, you don't get a Robert Kirkman. You don't get Walking Dead. And again, Robert Kirkman's a guy who's probably fucked over his high school friend Tony Moore out of millions of dollars that he should have gotten rightfully. But at least Kirkman exists. I'd much rather have a Kirkman out there than a Carl Icahn or a Terry Stewart or a fucking Ike Perlmutter collecting all that fucking money and giving nothing to anybody else. Give credit where credit's due. Liefeld has done great things for this industry, and so many of the people in this industry are either fucking lapdogs or they ultimately contribute nothing of value that actually helped another human being besides maybe giving them some disposable entertainment. Liefeld made this an industry where other people could become successes, and he deserves credit for that if nothing else.
Right. I feel sometimes like he's not Bob Harris or Tom DeFalco, right? I mean, he's just Rob Liefeld. Like, chill the fuck out. And I don't know. I think, like you said, I think there's just a disproportionate amount of hate on that dude. And I've never collected any of his books. I never bought New Mutants or any of that shit. I don't give a shit about any of that.
And it was so exciting. He was so energizing. We loved that stuff so much. I was part of that generation. We loved Liefeld. I still have love for Liefeld. So I got a piece of Liefeld art just this year, and I'm proud to say I got it done. And he gave me more than my money's worth. He was supposed to do a bust for me. He did a figure. How can I not have some love for this guy, you know? He's a better guy than people give him credit for.
So I think we all agree, God bless Rob Liefeld. And we can end the pot and just agree real quick. Just agree, Mr. Fixit, and
equated
and
ISIS.
Agreed.
If you love Rob Liefeld, you love ISIS. That simple.
You saying I was going to make a jihad joke, and I'm not going to do that.
This message is brought to you by Deadpool.
Dude, searching for some sexy time, am I right? Well, here's the thing. Touching yourself could also save your life without making you blind. Seriously, most cancers are curable if caught early. Click on the link and start touching yourself right now. Stimulating. I'm touching myself right now. Gentlemen, how well do you know your happy sack? I'm sure you rummage around downstairs more than Mommy would like, but it's time you started paying attention to your favorite pastime, because that bag of beans bouncing around in your hand could be trying to kill you. What? Yeah, because testicular cancer is the most common form of cancer in men aged between 15 and 35. It's time to fight back. Hold each of your manberries, or as I like to call them, smooth criminals, in turn between your thumb and fingers. Give them a gentle roll around. Don't get too excited, though. You're on a mission here. You also need to check the tubes around the back. That's the spermatic cord and epididymis. But I'm sure you knew that. If at any point you feel an unusual lump, size shift, or irregularity, don't ignore it like a pussy. Man up and talk to your doctor. The alternative is not an option. Check those bad boys at least once a month after a bath or shower, so
The next time you're shopping for one in the sexy salad section, remember to tweak the tomatoes before you go cucumber crazy. Puns.
Hashtag touch yourself tonight.
Charlton Hero and Fantastic First wished us Merry Christmas. Kevin Dodgy wished us a Happy New Year. We got Follow Fridays from Comic Reflections and King Size Comics Giant Size Fun Podcast. New Facebook likes from Joe Crawford, Keith G. Baker, Kevin Culp, Martin Gray, and Siskoid. I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but we got a WordPress blog follow from Rob Deb. New Twitter follows included Adventure Fit Radio, Being Author, Ben Landis, Bill Bolden, Bob Englehart, Boost My Book, Bruce Maduri, Kaylin Pelufo, Canterbury Ale House, Kyle Montgomery, Chris Hayes, Crowdfunding Campaign, The D-Cast, a Disney podcast, Darcy Croft, Geek Dig Podcast, Global Nail, Hales on Air, IKEA Assemblers DC, JD Shouts, Gian Moore Books, Jeff Douglas Messer, John Rampton, Juan A. Cantos, Kev Heritage, Leah Scott Price, Louis Fierce, Man Candy at Real Man Candy, Mark O'Connell, Mashable Fan 50, Master Debaters, Murray Newlands, My Social Fam, Nate Maingard, P2L to Cold, Paul Hobbs, Pete the Geek, The Projection Booth Cast, Rocky Mountain Geeks, Ryan Larson, Salt Palace CC, Sam's Tavern, Satanic Hell, Secret Sage Team, Social in Baltimore, It's Star Wars Time Tweets, Super Awesome Geek Show, Tactical Investor, Thomas Keister, Toilet Tweets, at Turd Tweetin', Voicebox Live, Voice Spot, Witty White Cell, Wombat Dojo, Zachary Davis, and the actor Zach Ward, who played the younger brother on Titus. Remember that dude? I do. Plus, we received retweets from Professor Alan Middleton, Comics Tweets at Geek Tweeters, The Randominable, and Shag Matthews, a Firestorm fan, as well as favorites from Alex Chung, Anthony Miyazaki PhD, The Anti-Fascist, Behind the Magic Podcast, Bob McLeod, Bronze Age Babies, Comic Book Broadcaster, David Fior, Eli Ilpiran, The Film and Water Podcast, Hawkeye at Adam Hawkeye, It's Plastic Man, Kurt Fleischer, My Social Fam, Oscar Olalde Blue Devil, Over News or Movies, The Park Fanatic Podcast, Raven M. Fields, Samurai Bear, Steve Whistler, Taman Bob, Will Fish, Willie Yarbrough. And finally, the Merry Marvel Marching Society, the 108th Stage, and Ashley Rose, Bone Dragon Comics, Captain Marvel 75, Charlton Hero, CJ, Coffee and Comics Blog, Comic Reflections, Count Druncula, Darren and Ruth Sutherland, Dr. G Nerdologist, Drunken Dork Podcast, Fire Source, Firestorm Fan, Future Primitive Comic, The Illegal Formation Podcast, Joseph Crawford, Cat Casasas, Cat Casasa, yeah, Keith G. Baker, Kevin Dodgy, King Size Comics Giant Size Fun Podcast, Legiticus, Marvel Incorporated 2099, Monsters and Mystics, Odell Abner Dracula, Out of the Fridge, Party Roll Podcast, Pietro Blacksimoff, formerly the penultimate, formerly Random Podcast Square, Randy Caldwell, Siskoid, Sin at Alias Scarecrow, Too Dangerous for a Girl Blog, Trekker Talk, and Warlord Worlds.
Can you describe your technique?
I can. 60% tongue.
The Marvel Superheroes Podcast is in no way affiliated with or endorsed by Marvel Entertainment. All characters mentioned and audio clips employed are believed covered under fair use, with no infringement intended against their copyright holders. The views expressed in this podcast are assumed legitimate, truthful, and solely possessed by the speaker.
This message is brought to you by Deadpool.
Okay, ladies, listen up. If you catch your man with his hands down his pants, blame me. I've been telling him to check his walnuts for lumps and bumps so he can give testicular cancer a kick in the balls. But my good deeds don't stop there. Did you know that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer at some point in their life? So it looks like you've got some fumbling to do yourself. Watch this video and try not to think of me while it's on. Seriously.
Self-examination is an important part of detecting the early signs of breast cancer. And as well as having mammograms and regular checkups with your doctor, it's recommended that every woman checks herself at least once a month. Firstly, stand in front of a mirror to look and feel for noticeable changes, such as dimpling, size difference, or nipple discharge. Hold your arms in 4 different positions, at your sides, overhead, hands pressed on hips, and leaning forward. Next, lie on your back with a pillow under your right shoulder and your right hand under your head. With your 4 fingers of your left hand, make small circular motions. Follow an up and down pattern over the entire breast area, under the arms and up to the shoulder bone, pressing firmly. Repeat using right hand on left breast. Finally, while bathing, raise your right arm and check your right breast with a soapy left hand and fingers flat, using the method described when lying down. Repeat this on the other side. Follow these simple procedures and let your doctor know if you find anything out of the ordinary. Thank you for watching, and good health.
There you have it, a film that could save your life with boobs. There's something for everyone. You're welcome, Planet Earth.
No,
there's a build up to it.
No, we're building up to it.
We'll see. I talked too much. It was too much me talking.
No, shut up.
This is a hand sliding
now
in the
it's
panties.
now it's too much.
Pulling the hair. That's where we're at right now. We're not full penetration.